So much, Kels. When Greer Kadetsky goes off to college, she meets a 63-year-old woman who lights a fire underneath her, fanning the flames of inspiration and lighting up a sense of purpose. Their friendship and accompanying mentorship is a big part of Meg Wolitzer's new novel. It's called The Female Persuasion. Meg Wolitzer joins us in studio this morning. We're really thrilled that you're here with us today.
Thank you.
I talked about inspiration in that intro there. What was the inspiration for you for this story?
Well, you know, I really had been thinking about a lot of the ideas in the story for a very long time. Female mentorship, making meaning in the world, female power, and these were things that I'd been thinking about. So I just decided to write a novel.
And you know, it's interesting with what we're all experiencing right now with the Me Too movement, and you opening the story with a Me Too moment for one of your lead characters. But at the time, I mean, you were writing this.
I know.
Years ago. The timing of this.
I've joked with people because somebody asked me, "Did you start writing it after the Me Too movement?"
Like you would be very fast.
I would have had to have gotten everybody into a room. Everybody would have had to have taken a different chapter, and I would have said, "Go."
Yeah.
No, because these are old ideas, absolutely, without a doubt. And it's just that right now we're talking about them in a different way.
In what way? How would you characterize how we're talking about it now versus years ago?
Well, louder.
Yeah.
First of all, and people are really coming forward and talking about what they felt and that they didn't feel they had support to talk about for a long time. My character goes to a frat party at the beginning of the novel, and she's groped by a frat brother, and she doesn't know what's happened to me. Is it something that's real that I'm allowed to talk about? Should I just sort of suck it up and go on? She thinks, is this what it's like being a woman in the world? And a lot of women and girls have said to me, I had an experience like maybe that didn't happen, but maybe somebody looked at me, something happened. What does it mean to be female? How do we process these experiences that we may not want to talk about?
And speaking of being female, let's talk about the decision to tell this story from an intergenerational perspective. Your two main lead female characters are from different generations. Why was that important for you?
Well, Greer is a college student, as I said, and Faith Frank is the older mentor who's a famous feminist. Faith Frank, famous feminist, I like the alliteration. And she comes to the college to speak to the students, and she sort of lights a fire under Greer. She's someone who grew up in a really different world. Second wave feminism felt really different from the feminism of today. And I love an intergenerational story because you're really talking about people who've had entirely different experiences trying to say, what is it like being female? What is it like for you? What is it like for me?
When you think about in your own life, those that have lit that fire under your story, who do you think about?
Well, one who I think about is the writer and director Nora Ephron, who I really loved, who was a great friend. The first film she directed was based on my novel, This Is My Life. And she just invited me into the whole process and took me out to lunch. And after she died, I heard from so many, I read about from so many women that she had invited them out, sort of seen something in their work and said, I see something in you, and it made all the difference. And I think that matters so much.
Isn't that important? I remember those people in my life, too, that just noticed you and looked you in the eye and said, how are you doing? And listened to your answer and said, I see something. It just takes one person to say, I see something in you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It just takes one person, and if everyone has that one person, I feel like your path could become completely different. And it's very exciting. And I think that as a writer, I teach a lot, sometimes it's important to do that yourself. And it's not like, oh gosh, I have to remember to do that. You want to do it. It feels natural.
I want to ask you about the writing process. And when you're writing this novel in particular, do you have a reader in mind when you're writing?
It's kind of me who's never read my work. I figure I'm like not so freakish that there aren't people out there who have similar tastes. I want to find the book on the shelf that I want to read. I mean, that's the one that I have to write. The book that I want to find on the shelf that hasn't been written, I figure, well, I better write it.
I'm sure your biggest critic, too, you're writing for, which is yourself, probably, right?
Oh, you would not believe it. Cut, get rid of that terrible, what is wrong with you, written in the margins.
Hey, speaking of cut, this is going to be made into a film, and Nicole Kidman was Instagramming a photo of herself with the book. How much involvement are you going to have?
Well, if they let me have involvement, I would love it. We're just at the very beginning of that, but I'm such a fan of hers. I'm such an admirer of hers, and I think she will be absolutely wonderful in this. So I'm really thrilled.
You're going to have somebody do it. I mean, why not Nicole Kidman, right? One of the best actresses of all time.
Oh, she's incredible.
Yeah.
And she's so nuanced. I think she will really inhabit this role beautifully.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you taking the time to have the conversation, Meg. Thanks. We'll be right back. Stay with us.